Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans, college sports fans, pro sports fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Hey, dude, I love having you, especially on Teal Day. Yeah. This is National Teal Day.
I was going to call us gang green, but you're teal. I'm a little greener.
Yeah, this is the
mean green of North Texas State. My wife was a grad.
No matter what color it is, just don't call us late for the show.
No.
Bottom line is this is Grambling week.
It is.
This is Grambling week, and all through the whack, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. But I digress. That doesn't even rhyme. The whack versus the SWAC, right? Woody Hayes Athletic Center versus the Southwestern Athletic Conference. A lot of people mix that up. Ohio State is a prohibitive favorite, but as you well know, there's no line on this game because it's not just a Division I powerhouse, FBS powerhouse. It's the number one ranked team in the country, Ohio State, going against Grambling, an FCS school, an HBCU school, historically black college and university, Grambling, which goes back a long way, as everybody knows. You've been doing your homework this week. I'm sure you have. They're coming off a 55-7 win over Langston. And as I've been pointing out on the radio and elsewhere this week, maybe even on this show earlier in the week, they were a prohibitive favorite in that game, and Ohio State's a prohibitive favorite over them in this game. We'll see what kind of matchup it ends up being. Ohio State has the advantage at every position, I do believe. Would you agree with that, Clay?
Yeah, no question.
And so
limited scholarships.
The only thing Ohio State can do to hurt itself in this game is look bad. And
turn it over.
If it looks really good, nobody's going to care. That's just the way it is. Even Mickey Joseph, the head coach at Grambling, pointed that out. He's not going in with any preconceived notion of anything can happen because it's 0-0 as we speak right now. But he just wants his team to have a hell of an experience at one of the cathedrals of major college football. And he wants them to play well. I ran that Eddie Robinson video, the legendary coach from Grambling, earlier in the week. I picked it up and put it on Twitter of him urging his team to get their act straight before they went to play.
Right.
I don't remember who it was. It might have been Florida. But before they went to play somebody years ago, you don't want to embarrass yourself. You want to acquit yourself, meaning, show what you're all about. This is your shot.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up.
You bet.
I don't know if you grew up. You were born in the great state of Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we moved 3 times.
Right.
Didn't live in the South very long.
But your first big job was in the South.
Yeah, well, I had 2 newspaper jobs. I guess I was trying to be Tim May.
There you go.
The last in Montgomery, Alabama.
Nothing wrong with that.
And later, the guy who I worked for at a newspaper went to this TV station. He called me. I said, I'm enough ham. I'd love to try it. And so
Wait, were you a canned ham, or how would you describe it?
Oh, no, I was a
spiral cut?
Yo, yeah. Okay. Only the best.
Gotcha.
WCBI TV in Columbus, Mississippi, much like a larger Columbus in that the Imes family owned the newspaper, the radio, and the TV.
Yeah. Like the family I worked for, the Wolf family forever owned newspaper, radio, and TV.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Graduated from the newspaper to the TV, was there a year and a half and began to matriculate. But when I was in Jackson, Mississippi, the capital, and we were a minority owned station, and there was certainly emphasis on covering the SWAC, Alcorn, Mississippi Valley, Jackson State. And so now when I see a HBCU coming, I feel like I'm going home.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've had these 2 not weird, but just distinct careers. 12 years at this WLBT in Jackson, Mississippi, another year and a half. So 13 plus the 2 newspapers, probably 15 years total, 16 maybe. And now here, 30, but it just so different.
Oh, yeah.
So different.
Oh, yeah.
And to to understand, to feel, to cover those folks. I'll never forget Texas Southern came in to play Jackson State, and Mr. GMA, who was a star defensive end, come on, help me think of his name.
Mike Strahan?
Exactly. And he was funny. He was engaging.
He was a man among,
oh my goodness,
smaller men.
Yeah, and Jackson State was very good. I think they ended up winning, but he was a star. And those are the kind of people you ran across, and not every team had one, but Mississippi Valley had Jerry Rice. Alcorn had Steve McNair, Air McNair, they called him in with the Jackson Clarion Ledger, and he became a little bit of a folk hero in his own way.
Yep.
And he out of Mount Olive, Mississippi, as I recall. His brother was older, played quarterback at Alcorn. Then he came along and got the invite to New York for the Heisman, and that was another big thrill for me early in my career. And so
wait a minute. And of course, lingering before you got your job there, obviously Walter Payton played for Jackson State, and everybody knows what he did. And I mean, yeah, he should have been in the running for the Heisman Trophy because the guy was crazy how good he was. Of course, he went to the Bears. Everybody knows him from the Bears, but imagine him, on an FCS level playing football. That's kind of amazing.
It is. And met their family, the Payton family, while I was there, and Eddie Payton, who would play in the NFL,
right,
became the Jackson State University golf coach. So he was always giving me lessons, and just had a ball. And again, thought it was very enriching, and to feel it's a different world. There were few Caucasian reporters covering that beat, and it's a highlight. I just those folks will always have a special place here.
Absolutely, man. They should. I mean, I grew up in like we talked about in the previous show. I grew up in a segregated South, first Demopolis, Alabama, and then when I was 11 and a half years old, we moved to Texas, and Lufkin, Texas had the best African American black high school football team in the state, coached by Elmer Red, who the opposite of what happened in Remember the Titans. He did not get the Lufkin High School head coaching job when they fully integrated the two schools. He was offered the assistant head coaching job, and he said nah, and he went to work for Bill Yeoman at the University of Houston, became his right-hand man, and they recruited the heck out of the African American community, especially in Texas, when Southwest Conference teams weren't doing that, and that really brought Houston to prominence.
The Cougars were good.
Oh, they were really good, and they didn't mind laying it on you either.
No.
Put a whooping on you, and of course they became part of the Southwest Conference, and then the Southwest Conference dissolved. This was well after I left there and stuff, but yeah, it was amazing. Just the football that was being played sometimes. One night after the other in Demopolis, like I pointed out, when the white high school played its games, the African Americans were out lining the fence watching, and then when the African American U.S. Jones High School played its games in Demopolis Stadium, then we were standing on the outside. The white folks were standing on the white side, because we all wanted to watch football, and it was cool. We talked about that on that last show, but it's still. It's not the way it should have been, but some of it, when you look back on it, was kind of cool, meaning you got to see some damn good football if you were paying attention. But Lufkin Dunbar, look it up. Lufkin Dunbar was a perennial power in the African-American level. And they also played, by the way, in when integration really kind of started in Texas in the 60s, they played in mixed, whatever you want to call it, integrated districts.
Okay.
They did. Lufkin didn't, and then finally Lufkin did. There were some historically African American schools that were mixed into that were in these other cities like Marshall and Tyler and down the line, and they were integrated into our into our district. It was so slow coming, but man, when it came, well, it was cool.
Little history lesson for the folks.
Yeah, there's another lesson there, but I'm not going to get into it. But it was too bad. Yeah. But that's another story. Bottom line is, I'm looking forward to this game. You know why I'm looking forward to this game? Because Grambling's bringing its band.
Of course.
And
the sonic boom of the South.
And by the way,
State.
We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk to Craig Krenzel. You had a little interview with Craig Krenzel about what he saw out of Julian Sayin, who made his first start for the Buckeyes long ago. Craig Krenzel made his first start for the Buckeyes and against Michigan delivered the victory. Then also we're going to do a little bit of a preview of the NFL, primarily the Bengals versus the Browns season opener. I've got Tom Withers. He's like you and I. He's retired, but he's not really. And he does freelance stuff now after retiring from the Associated Press. Long time Associated Press guy, main guy in the city of Cleveland. And he's one of my good friends. And we're going to have a little interview with him that I did, just talking about the Browns and the Bengals, what to expect this weekend. But go ahead, you were going to make a point.
Well, that's the first gig I ever had, was stringing for the Associated Press for Mississippi State athletics. And I would go to the game. I remember when Charles Barkley came with Auburn to play Mississippi State, and he had like a zillion points, but I would call it in. I wouldn't even, there was no transmit. It was just, give me the facts. Barkley, 48 points on, incredible shooting. But guys, I thought I was like, man,
you were the guy.
I'm with Associated Press.
You were the dude.
Man, I wasn't just the sports editor of the stinking campus newspaper. I was stringing for the AP. Yeah, man, the AP. So thoroughly enjoyed that. That kind of, it bit me, and off and running in the media world.
Can I sing you a little song I wrote? A Grambling fight song.
Serious?
Yeah.
Go right ahead. I would not deny you the pleasure.
Okay. You'll pick up on the tune. You'll pick up on the tune.
Okay.
When it gets going. I hope I can read my notes here, because I've changed it many times as I've written it, trying to hone it.
Haven't I heard this in
heard
the recent days?
You heard the refrain.
I see.
You know what I mean?
I see. Have you ever?
Here it goes. We're not major college, we're FCS. Still mighty Ohio State called, and we all said yes. We're 50-point underdogs, but we don't really care. We're going to play this game. I swear. I left part out of there because I had a bad word in there. Because we got to. No, wait a minute. I sing that to the wrong tune.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, I'll get back to it.
All right.
I had the wrong tune going there in my head.
You'll feel it later.
Yeah. Oh, I had the wrong tune going there. But anyway, let's just get to the refrain. Because we're grambling men. Grambling men. Yeah, we got to scramble, grambling men. We got to ramble, grambling men. That was the refrain. I'll just leave it at that.
Wow.
I thought that part was pretty good.
Are you sure you weren't the Marlboro man?
I'm pretty sure
that's horse with the
absolutely not the case. But let's get to this real quick. What does Ohio State got to prove in this game, in your mind? They're prohibitive favorites, even though there's not really a line on the game. We all know they're prohibitive favorites. The head coach of the other team even says so.
Well,
so what does Ohio State got to prove to you in this game? You are Clay Hall. You're featured in this podcast. What do you want to see out of Ohio State?
Well, they've got to show that they have very capable depth. And if they need to go 2 deep, 3 deep, let's see what you got. And that kind of dovetails into my discussion of the Ohio State running backs after I got a little one-on-one or just a quick chat with Carlos Lachlan. I mean, it feels like that room is so crowded. There's a guy with a chair, and the door is open, and he's halfway out in the hall. I mean, you got Donaldson, CJ, who started, James Peoples, who got several carries, and there's some folks, Bo Jackson, Turbo Rogers. He kind of alluded to me that he had some banged up a little bit early. He's coming on. And another guy, and I'm saying his name because you beat me to the punch on Devin Sanchez. by like 12 seconds. So he says this Isaiah West, freshman from Philly.
Yeah, that's how you say his name.
Have you heard much? Have you heard anything about it?
Yeah, they liked him in preseason camp, but as Ryan Day alluded, he's a little bit of a project coming along. He was late showing up, so to speak, late. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever you want to call it, but they really like him. They like his upside very much so.
Yeah.
By the way, you just named 5 guys.
5
that wouldn't even have gone too deep in an Oklahoma wishbone when it came to running backs. The deal is here. They do have, because Ohio State rarely plays more than running back, and even last week they had what I call 23 personnel. Everybody else called it 14 because they had a tight end at fullback, so I'd call that 23 personnel. And on their touchdown play with C.J. Donaldson, good block by Nate Roberts, tight end / fullback, because they played 5 tight ends in that game. Bennett Christian also played. I mean, Jelani Thurman. And then, of course, the 2 transfers over the last 2 years, Will Kazmarek and Matt Clare. 4 tight ends were on the field for that touchdown. It's crazy. And because it's wide receiver U. But Ryan Day has said all along, this is a deep tight end room, and they're going to play in the very first game against previously number 1 Texas. They all played.
Yeah. I mean, you said something, but did you reference Oklahoma?
About their wishbone. I said, you said there's such a deep running back room.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, those guys wouldn't even give you a 2 deep in the old wishbone days of running backs because you had to have 6.
We're so old. Every time something comes up, we have a story. Marcus Dupree left Philadelphia, Mississippi, Neshoba Central High School, to go to Oklahoma under Barry Switzer. He didn't like him, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway,
wait a minute.
Is
that the end of that story?
No, because
I'm at a scramble this year. I'm at a scramble in June up in Ashland, Ohio.
All right,
and there's Marcus Dupree sitting there.
No kidding.
Yeah, he was one of the invited guests, one of the VIPs. Believe it or not, I was one of the VIPs too. But I was more of a blip VIP. But my team almost won. That's another story. But Marcus Dupree and I were sitting there shooting the bull, and I said, by the way, man, everybody's watched your 30 for 30.
Yes.
But you ever just think about NIL, what you would have made? And he just starts laughing.
Well, I think his family made a double wide trailer.
Yeah,
that was parked.
But just think if there had been an NIL, then what they would have been walking away with.
Oklahoma, we all know if you've read The Courtship of Marcus Dupree, and Oklahoma assistant, Texas assistant, literally setting up shop for a month because they both wanted him so badly.
And get this, Earl Bruce. I forgot who was recruiting him for Ohio State. Ohio State was trying to get in on him.
Yeah.
Earl Bruce flew into Jackson for some, because you couldn't. I don't think there was an airline flight. Maybe Southern Airways flew into Meridian, Mississippi, but flew into Jackson, and he met the assistant coach there, and the assistant coach told him what he was understanding about the Texas and the Oklahoma stakeout. And Earl just said, well, I'm not going to waste my time. And he caught the first flight back.
He did.
Yeah. Well, he had to go through Memphis or somewhere, I'm sure. But that was the beginning and the end of Ohio State's recruitment.
Let me add one footnote.
Marcus Dupree thought that was funny.
Marcus Dupree was, again, like McNair, a folk hero. So we at this NBC affiliate in Jackson went to his home to do a sit down. We got to get him on the record. This is going to be huge, one-on-one, big Marcus. So I go in there with the photog. Long story short, the photog points a light with extreme heat toward the ceiling. It's almost like these panels here.
Yeah.
And we start a fire. And I'm getting towels, and his mom was like, "What's going on in there?" Anyway, it was put out, and I said, "Why don't we do the interview outside?" But anyway,
are you kidding me? That actually happened.
It was not like a 3-alarm blaze, but I said,
could have been.
What's going? Oh my gosh, what did you do?
Yeah.
Anyway,
wow.
I was rather embarrassed, and later, when Kenneth Fairley, a pastor in the area, lured Marcus from Oklahoma back to Southern Mississippi, which he never played for.
Right.
But it was almost like and APB. There were reporters running with cameras. You would have thought the president had just driven up.
Crazy.
Ton of fun.
Here's the thing. Like I said, I was born and raised in the South until I was 22, and I moved north and never went back, mainly because you got 4 seasons back then. Now you get like 3.2 seasons, but I digress. Bottom line is, I posed this question to you the other day. Remember, if the life had been fair way back when, and there was no such thing as segregation, there was no such thing as for equal rights under the law, everything else. I mean, we were all just people, right? Who would you have heard less of, Bear Bryant or Eddie Robinson? Or would Eddie Robinson have been the head coach at Alabama? You follow my drift.
Yeah.
Because Eddie Robinson was a hell of a coach. My point is, think about the great football that was being played at HBCU schools back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s and 50s in the South, and 60s, really. A lot of the guys, if they wanted to play big time football, had to go north. We all know that. Bubba Smith from Beaumont or Southeast Texas. Jerry Levias got recruited to SMU by Hayden Fry. I got to watch him play live. Got to watch him play live against Baylor, whatever that year was, when he got his collarbone broken in the end zone, because Royal Ambassadors of the Southern Baptist Church, we got to go to one game a year at Baylor because it was a Baptist school.
Right.
And Jerry Levias went on to a great career, in the National Football League. But just think about the football.
So many did.
But just think about the football that was being played then, and nobody seemed to care except the HBCU school. So, like I said,
it's like Satchel.
Why did it take so long? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, golly. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's don't relive that anymore. I'm making my head hurt. I just think Eddie Robinson was a hell of a head coach. He also coached basketball at Grambling. He was a mentor. He was a leader.
That's what I said.
He was a demanding head coach who tried to make his players better people. Remember, Doug Williams played for him. I mean, just great players that came out of Grambling. Was unbelievable.
And he showed them the way to get out of perhaps the squalor that they were living in.
Yes.
It was a ticket out, and teaching them not only football fundamentals, but just how do you conduct yourself, how to carry yourself, how you engage folks.
All of those head coaches did similar things. The guys you covered, man, at Alcorn State, Mississippi Valley State, Jackson State, right on down the line. I mean, they were just stalwarts in their community, and it's just too bad. That's the way. You can't go back and change it, but you can always work forward, right?
But you know what has happened now? You see Caucasian players on these rosters.
I know.
And that never, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Even when I was
exactly
early 80s.
Well, like Eddie George, I mean, they recruited some white players to Tennessee State when he was down there.
Right.
Because it is what it is. Like I said, now things are moving forward, and it's cool that those schools have survived.
Right.
In the big what do you want to call it, colluding of schools and stuff. Real quick before we move on, because I do want to get to that interview with Tom Withers, but let's get to that short little interview you had with Craig Krenzel, who at one time in his life was a first-time starter at quarterback for The Ohio State University. And he talks about a few other things, but
in the state up north,
where
he was a native.
Exactly, Mount Sterling. No, I'll get it in a minute. I'll think of it in a minute. But we reminded him of that often.
Yeah,
that his first victory as a starting quarterback was against a team from his home state. But ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's get to this conversation that Clay Hall had with Ohio State national championship winning quarterback from 2002, Craig Krenzel.
Great to be with the former Ohio State national champion quarterback, Craig Krenzel. We're in Vol gear today because
that's where the oldest boy went to school, so playing baseball down there for the Vols. So couldn't keep him in Big Ten country, but when it comes to baseball, the SEC is where you want to be.
What does he say about going to Duty Noble Field in Starkville? That was my alma mater. Has he been there?
No, he has not. They did not get down to Mississippi State last year.
Well, they feed you well there.
Yeah.
He'll have legendary stories. After seeing the opener, tell me what you thought of Julian Sayin.
I think when you look at the expectations coming into the game for both quarterbacks, for Julian and Arch Manning, we have to be very, very happy and very, very pleased that our quarterback performed the way he did. He made I think when you look at the way Julian played the game, he made a number of high quality throws. Obviously, early in the game, battled some drops from some guys in key moments, but rebounded. I think it's kind of funny how football works, right? The touchdown pass, slightly underthrown, but when you get some help from one of your guys, it works out. Whereas made some really good throws earlier in the game that we didn't make the plays on, but solid decision making. Wasn't asked to go out there and win the game.
Right.
I don't think. I think when you look at what Brian Hartline and Ryan Day did, they gave him a solid game plan, an opportunity to make some plays when necessary, some balance to the offense, and he did a fantastic job of making the plays when they were needed. And given the environment, given the number one team in the country coming to your house, I think it's a huge first game and a huge first step, and excited to see what follows.
Don't you think they'll begin to give him a little more keys to the kingdom here as they take on the next two opponents?
You would certainly think so. You would certainly think that we're going to see some things open up, that we're going to see throw the ball a little more and let him become more comfortable within different confines of the offense and give him those opportunities.
Did you feel for Arch Manning, who seemed to be a little bit out of sorts when the NFL veteran Matt Patricia got a hold of him with his schemes?
Yeah, certainly. I know there's a lot of people talking about Arch after that game, and a lot of people questioning his mechanics. The arm slot seems to look a lot lower than it did earlier in his career at Texas or even high school. But I do feel for a guy like that. Those are some big shoes to fill with that name, with the family pedigree. But seems to handle it the right way, and seems like a guy that's got the right mentality about it. And you live, you learn, you grow, and you get better. And if not, they'll find somebody else that will.
Yeah, they won't. No shortage of talent down in Austin. What did you think of the defense that Patricia put on the field and their ability to confuse Manning?
I think I think the scheme obviously had Arch, pretty confused and bamboozled in the backfield, and the looks we were giving him in terms of what it looked like pre-snap to what it played out to be, obviously had him a little confused and not sure where to go with the ball at certain times. But also you got to give credit to the players making the plays and coverage. Obviously some questions up front and replacing a lot of guys on the defensive line, and I think all in all, defensively, everybody did a fantastic job. It starts with scheme, it starts with coaching. But at the end of the day, those guys on the field have to go out there and execute, and they did a solid job of that as well.
You had weapons to win a national championship. You had Michael Jenkins, holy Buckeye. Craig Krenzel tossed it on 4th and 1?
About a yard and a half.
And decided to go for it. The people they got to remember that day, right? Or the title.
The old folks do. Old folks like you and I do, right? Yeah.
Okay. So where do you see this Ohio State team going? Grambling, then Ohio, an open date before things start to get a little tougher. It's only one game, and it's crazy to ask this kind of thing. How would they stumble? What would stand in the way of going back to back?
At the end of the day, it's going to come down to execution. Given the current playoff system, I think we're probably all in agreement as Buckeye fans that this Ohio State football team not making the playoff would be a shocker. And with that being said, once you get there, you're going to be going week in and week out playing the best teams in the country and having the opportunity to prove yourself. And we obviously have as much talent or more talent than most, if not every team in the country. And when you get to that point in the season, come December, January, they're going to have to execute. They're going to have to prepare and execute. So, I think we're going to be watching this Buckeye football team play. These guys play late into the season in terms of what's what could potentially derail back to back. Lack of execution, injuries, a little bit of bad luck, right? You have to be well coached. You have to be talented. You got to catch a break here and there, and you got to stay healthy. So, I think we're obviously well coached. We obviously have all the talent in the world. So it comes down to the other two. Do we catch breaks when we need to? And, do we stay healthy enough to make the run down at the end?
Let's go back. I want one more memory from you because it's time for Ohio State to right things in the rivalry. You went to Ann Arbor. You went to your native state.
That's right.
Steve Belisari was not available, and you started that game. Was it your first start?
It was. It was my first start. I played a little bit the week before.
0-1.
During the Illinois game at home, but the way we had it that year, Scotty and I rotated week in and week out who was going to be the starter. And the first game Steve wasn't available, was Scott's turn to be the backup, so he got the start. I ended up playing some minutes in the second half and doing some good things and impressed Coach Tress and the staff enough to earn the start the following week in Ann Arbor. And as the old cliche goes, the rest is history. Jonathan Wells ran for, I think J-Dub ran for about $120 and a couple of scores in the first half. And I can't remember if John Navarre threw us 4 or 5 interceptions that game, but our defense played lights out, and I think we got our first win in Ann Arbor in 14 years, and I was just blessed to be a part of it.
I'll never forget an Ohio State fan held a cardboard box in the stadium that said, "A promise is a promise."
Well, Coach Tress never promised we'd win the game.
That's what he always
promised, that as fans you would be proud of your Buckeyes
in 313 days in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Was it all? Had to be even more sweet for you.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I had a ton of family. A lot of my high school friends and acquaintances were in Ann Arbor. My high school football coach, Terry Capacia, was able to be there along with my parents and brother and aunts and uncles and everybody to be there and support me, people that were just a valuable part of my upbringing and training and everything that had gotten me to that point. So for fate and the good Lord to have it in the cards that would be my first start, and for it to end the way it did, it was a dream come true.
Well, it's a long way to that game, but it's certainly worth celebrating for Craig Krenzel and company. Craig, appreciate the time as always. Great to see you, my man.
My pleasure. Anytime, Clay.
You got it.
Craig Krenzel, one of the greats, man, at Ohio State history. I've always wondered if Tressel had cranked it up a little bit more, just throwing the ball. Mm-hmm. How much better, they had some good players on that team, some great talent. And he ought to know better than anybody about the trying to repeat.
Well, yeah.
Because things, remember things kind of started coming apart a little bit with Maurice Clarett being suspended or stepping away, and all that circus that was going on. And of course, they got beat. The only time Tressel lost to Michigan was in 2003.
Up there.
Yeah, up there. And of course, back then you had to be perfect on the season to have a chance to play, one of the top 2 teams in the country. Pretty much perfect. As it turned out, you didn't have to be, but a lot of other stuff had to fall your way. But Craig Krenzel, man, he's I've always liked that dude for all kinds of reasons, but I always thought he was sharp.
Yeah, and he threw to Michael Jenkins, who I had gone to my folks who live in South Carolina, and I got he and Ben Hartsock together. They live fairly close. Did a piece with them, shot it on my phone. My battery ran out on the camera, but they relived a lot of that. And Hartsock went and got a T-shirt. I wish I could remember the title on it, but he had of that touchdown that earned the win at Purdue.
Yeah.
So
Holy Buckeye.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, they should have been another T-shirt with Chris Gamble making the interception at the very end of that game.
I was just about to
which really saved the day.
No doubt.
But, hey, as the old saying goes, legend or myth, print the legend, right? Bottom line is that's not how it goes, but you know what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, real quick before we move into a little bit of a pro football talk here, and we're going to come back and rehash this a little bit. Who are you? I said a while ago, what intrigues you about this game, but specifically, give me one guy you want to see play. Is it Bo Jackson? Is it Turbo Rogers? Is it, we talked about Tavian St. Clair, but, they got to get Lincoln Keno sometime before they get Tavian St. Clair sometime. But who's that one guy you definitely want to see play against Grambling for Ohio State?
I must say you have pounded the table for Lincoln Kienholz.
Well, just because he's a backup quarterback.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the backup is always the adored player.
Well,
but anyway, Isaiah West, I heard that name. I've heard a lot of intriguing stuff about him. Curious if Kenyatta's good to go. I'm trying to recall if I don't think Ryan addressed that.
No, he said it was going to be looked at as the week went on and stuff, because he's clearly coming back from a head bump, aka a concussion of some sort, or light concussion. What's the difference, right? Yeah. And the more time you can put between it happening and you playing again is a good thing.
The other guy would be Brandon Ennis, because JR is going to get his. We know Carnell, he produced that big touchdown. But Ennis, he was so sure-handed as a punt returner. He didn't return a ton of them, but I think he's a quality guy. He's a captain out of the blue. So I'd like to see him get off a little bit.
Yeah. And it's funny, Jeremiah Smith was at punt return at one point last week. I think Caleb Downs did too. Right on down the line, I think Brandon Ennis was put in at punt return.
Last year that was kind of a primary.
You might see some interesting mixes there again this week, because every team, no matter who you're playing, you like to get one of those on your belt. You know what I mean? Like Caleb Downs did last year. I mean, that was electrifying, and it came against Indiana exactly the right time. And we all know, as I asked Caleb Downs afterwards, I said, "What are you thinking when you get the ball in your hands on a punt return?" And his flat line was score.
I have
not anything else but score.
I have a picture of him returning that. Was it punt or intercept? Punt. And he is looking up at the scoreboard, watching Indiana chase him down the field.
Yeah.
It's a very cool shot.
Well, anybody, I wrote a story about Zeke Elliott doing that against Alabama on that
85
that
yards.
rip through the heart of the South at 85 yards. And he was looking up at it, because why wouldn't you use that?
Yeah.
It's like having a camera in the back of your head.
You know how many lengths you are ahead of the field.
Oh, yeah. You know exactly how much you got to stride on out. I guarantee you, Travion checked out some big screen at the AT&T there with about 30 yards to go against Texas last year last season.
Yeah.
In that ridiculous return. Isn't it amazing that in less than a calendar year, Ohio State has beaten two number one teams in the country?
Well,
Texas and then Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
Six top five teams.
Yeah, but I'm talking about two number ones. Well, you've always
still a hell.
You've always got to be. You've always got to do better than me. I know how this goes, man. But the bottom line, two number one teams have knocked out in the calendar year, and I know everybody's probably has already seen that or heard that or knows it, but it's still amazing.
Tremendous.
I keep telling people, this is the golden age. This is going to be 50 years from now. People are going to be looking back, going, "Man, this is the golden age of Ohio State football." Going back to the turn of the century to this moment, look at what this football program has done.
How many years would you say from Tressel's national title to this one, or just
from Tressel's win over Michigan?
Yeah,
which because that was not a very good year for Ohio State, but he beat Michigan. And Craig Krenzel, just like I've reminded people, Tressel never said they were going to win when he made that thing. He said you're going to be proud of them.
He did.
And everybody took pride. Well, and everybody just immediately cogitated, well, pride means you won.
Yeah.
And why would we be proud if you played it close?
Yeah.
Who cares about that?
Come on, JT.
And it was coming off the 2-10-1 record.
We know what you
against John Cooper's 2-10-1 record against Michigan. So it is what it is. Excuse me. I did not mean to do that, but it came upon me suddenly.
Yes.
It's allergy season, ladies and gentlemen. Take your pills. Well, hey, let's move on to this little preview of the NFL, but especially the Browns and the Bengals. I had a chance to catch up with my good friend Tom Withers, longtime Associated Press correspondent in Cleveland, who's covered all kinds of Cleveland sports and really documented well the rise of LeBron James before he ever got to the Cavaliers. Did a great job of chronicling the next GOAT as he came along, as he made his way through the pasture.
Well, I'm glad that I'm going to get to hear and see him, because I'd seen his byline a million times over the years.
But Tom is, man, he's a rascal. He rides his bike way too much and way too many weird places, in my opinion. But one of the great guys I've ever run into. For without further ado, let's get to my conversation with Tom Withers.
Great to be with the former Ohio State national.
That was not Tom Withers. That was Craig Krenzel. Let's get now to my conversation with Tom Withers. Oh my goodness, man. Appreciate this young man joining me, Tom Withers. I don't think you've ever been on the Tim May show, and I don't know why not. I consider you one of my really good friends, even though we hardly ever see each other.
And I miss seeing you. We've connected a couple times on radio here of late, and now this is a Zoom meeting. But I miss not having you up here in Cleveland for various events over the years.
Various and sundry events, by the way. By the way, do you ride your bike to practice, Tom? I know you're like me. You're retired, but you're not retired. You understand what I'm saying? Do you ride your bicycle to practice?
I wish I could. There's not a real easy way to get here. It's Cleveland doesn't have very good north-south thoroughfares, so and very few bike lanes. So without risking life and limb, which I do every time I go out of my driveway anymore on the bike, I wish I could ride here, because I would. Trust me.
I know you would. I give you grief about that all the time. You know, you need to get a what do they call that thing where the bikes just go round and round? Not a
treadmill. I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about. It's a big oval. You know what I mean? You just need to get on that thing and ride.
Velodrome.
Yeah, there you go. Velodrome. By the way, I got up to the right after the 76 Olympics. I had moved to Ohio. My mom and dad were living up here, and my dad had to take a business trip to Montreal. And this was right after the Olympics were over, and I toured all those sites. And the coolest thing was this velodrome. I mean, growing up in Lufkin, Texas, I'd never seen a velodrome. You know what I mean? And those guys, man, they go so fast around that damn thing and some of that racing and stuff. But
I tell you what, it wasn't until I covered bobsled and luge and skeleton in the Olympics that I had an appreciation for how fast those people are going, man. That is a sport unlike anybody could ever imagine until you see it in person.
90 miles an hour in a vehicle with no bumpers and really no brakes. You're really, and you're steering with ropes. I mean, wow. But anyway, I digress. Hey, I told my folks here on the Tim May show featuring Clay Hall. You know, Clay Hall, longtime Channel 6 guy down here, sports guy, but now he and I teamed up a little bit. But I was telling him how I wanted to go to you for a preview of Browns-Bengals Sunday, Browns-Bengals for the season, and then maybe a little bit of NFL. That's why I wore this Cowboys cap. It's the only NFL cap I've got, and I don't like the Cowboys, so go figure. But there's a story behind this, but I won't even get into it. I did lose a bet. Bottom line, what do you expect? What do you expect Sunday from these two teams, Tom?
You know, it's. I tell you what, Tim. I just came off the practice field here, or from the practice field, and the one Brown that was missing was Myles Garrett, and we have not gotten a reason yet for his absence today. So, always something with this team, and here we go again. 2 days or 3 days before the opener. Unsure of where number 95 is, and I'm sure that will warm the hearts of some Bengals fans, but people here, I'm sure, are a little bit worried about it. Don't have any word yet. I'll be honest with you, Tim, going into Sunday, I don't know what to expect. If you told me the Bengals would win 44-14, I'd believe you. And if you told me the Browns would beat them 20-17 on a last-second field goal by their rookie kicker, I'd believe that too. So really hard to handicap. In terms of the Browns, obviously they're looking to bounce back from just an absolutely disastrous 3-14 season. I think we can all agree that there's better talent on this roster than that. They'd like to get back to 2023 levels. Obviously, they're starting a 40-year-old quarterback. They got two rookies in the wings, including Shedeur Sanders. So, like I said before, there's always something going on with this team. As far as the Bengals are concerned, you guys know better than I do. It's been the atrocious starts over the last couple of years for them. 1-3 out of the gate last year really cost a team that legitimately has a shot to win the Super Bowl, a chance of even getting into the playoffs. So, they got the Hendricks thing figured out over the last couple of weeks, which I felt like was going to happen at some point. I didn't expect him to get dealt, much like your Cowboys dealt Micah Parsons. But like I said, I think anything is possible going into Sunday down at Lake Erie.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd be really ironic that if the Bengals have Trey Hendrickson and the Browns don't have Myles Garrett. You know what I mean? Based on the way the summer went. But maybe apropos.
I will tell you this. The Browns are really high on this defense, and rightly so. You know, they used the number 5 pick overall after they maneuvered a little bit and made that trade with Jacksonville to get Mason Graham, the kid from Michigan, who has just been, a real revelation here, to be quite honest. Came into camp, the early camp, OTAs, rookie camp, did not look good in terms of his body and stuff. Really worked hard at it. And he has been really good. They've kind of refurbished that defensive line around Garrett after signing him to the massive contract. So they're really high in this defense, and they're going to be anchored by a rookie in the middle, which is really unusual and unique. This Carson Schlesinger kid, second-round pick from UCLA that nobody really knew about, has been tremendous, and he's kind of he's cleared every hurdle the Browns have put in front of him, and now Joe Burrow's his next test.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, real quick before we move to the Bengals a little bit, just talk about Burrow a little bit more than the Bengals. But what do you expect from Flacco? What do you expect from that quarterback? I mean, the Browns brought this on themselves by picking the 2 quarterbacks and stuff. I'm talking about people having questions, and then the way the thing is played out. But Tom Brady won a Super Bowl when he was 40-something, right? I mean, Flacco has won a Super Bowl. He's shown. A couple of years ago, how he can play, I think, if you just give him the ball and let him be the guy. But what do you expect, Tom? You've seen this guy.
Yeah. And you and I are old enough to remember the George Blandas and the Earl Morralls and the Sonny Jurgensens and guys like that have done it in their 40s. And obviously, a 40-year-old today is much different than one was, 20 years ago. Flacco has kept himself in remarkable shape. And I tell you what, Tim, I've watched enough quarterbacks over the years. This guy can still spin it with a guy that's, 15 years younger than him. He's still got all that skill set. Obviously the Browns they're hoping that they can kind of recapture some of that magic that he brought them 2 years ago when he rolled off the couch in New Jersey, came in here and led them to the playoffs. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen again, but at least he gives them a viable option, an experienced arm to at least get them through the first part of the season. You would not want to subject any quarterback, let alone a rookie quarterback, to this first 6 weeks of the Browns schedule. It's as bad as it gets in those terms. So, I mean, opening Cincinnati at home, then going to Baltimore for week 2, you don't want to think about that, right? You got Green Bay mixed in there now. Now they got Micah Parsons. I couldn't imagine Dylan Gabriel having to deal with that. So, I tell you what, Tim, I think Joe Flacco is capable of winning them, 2 or 3 of those games out of the first 6. And then we'll see where it goes. Obviously, they've got to figure out the franchise quarterback at some point. I'm not sure if it's Gabriel or Sanders, or they're just going to hold on to those first 2-round picks, those first 2 picks in the first round next year, and then go after, whoever it might be, Arch Manning, Nussmeier, that whole group of guys that they're talking about being part of this elite class coming out next year. So I think Flacco will be fine. He's obviously a guy that guys have gravitated to in the locker room. He's got 18 years of experience. It's almost like having another coach out there. And like I said to you before, Tim, he can still spin it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, what is the latest on Quinshon Judkins?
We're sitting here waiting for it to happen almost at any minute. I thought it was going to happen earlier this week. They're still waiting for, I think, Tim, the big holdup is just resolution from the league. Figuring out whether or not he's going to be suspended, and then for how many games, because his salary is almost locked in, as you know, with the exception of some guaranteed money. And I know that's been a real sticking point in the negotiations that he and his agent have had with the Browns. So listen, they could get wrapped up by the time you and I are done talking here in 5 minutes, or it could be in typical NFL fashion. It'll probably be Saturday morning at 11 o'clock just because nobody's working and everybody's trying to get ready for the game the next day. Or shoot, it could happen before kickoff on Sunday, and then suddenly we're talking about him, possibly arriving here next week. So, it's been unfortunately, it's really going to kind of keep the Browns running back situation as a big question mark going into the year. They got this Dylan Sampson kid from Tennessee who they like a lot. A lot of people here, Browns fans in typical fashion, are saying, well, they drafted the wrong Ohio State running back, and we've all seen what Trevion Henderson has already done with the Patriots. So we'll see, Tim. Like I said, I could expect some finality on this in the next half hour, or we may drag on another week or two.
By the way, if you want to fight back when they ask about that, because I like both of those guys.
I do too.
But Quinshon Judkins had 3 touchdowns in the national championship game. One of them on a catch where he worked himself wide open, and Will Howard spotted him. And I know you watched that game. I mean, this guy, man, you get him down near the goal line, and he's going to find the end zone. He's one of those Carlos Snow. If you remember Carlos Snow, but
certainly
he's had a knack for finding that crack in the line and stuff. Too bad a lot of times they got down there and they put Butler Benote in instead of Carlos Snow. But that's coaching, right? Hey, real quick, I know you got to go. What are you doing? I mean, but real quick, did Joe Burrow get robbed last year of the MVP? What's your take on that? And he played so well and yet was playing for a team with no defense.
Yeah, and I think he was penalized by that 1-3 start as well, right, Timmy? I think, you reward the teams that have the big success, right? And I think, and listen, hard to argue against Josh Allen, who has just had, a really good run there in Buffalo for 6 years and is now knocking on the door like we see with these young quarterbacks that continue to evolve. And, that was to me, it was a 1 and 1A between the two of them. You can make a strong argument for Burrow because when you talk about, is it best player? Is it most valuable player? All those things. It becomes very subjective. But I don't think he got robbed. I think it was just a product of just a tough year for the Bengals all in all.
Well, let's get your answer to this quiz here. My quiz is, who comes the first to win a Super Bowl? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow? Maybe the 3 best quarterbacks in the league who haven't won a Super Bowl. Go ahead.
I think this is Allen's year. I think things are really set up in Buffalo for them to finally get it done. Now, that's not to say that the guy in Kansas City might get in their way again, right? I mean, we all talk about these great quarterbacks that haven't won it. Well, that guy's got 3, and he might be, willing to add a few more to that jewelry box. So, it's going to be interesting. I think you're right. Those are the guys that obviously stand out above them all. And what drives what drives Browns fans mad is that 2 of them are in their division. So while they're looking for that, this endless search here for the franchise quarterback, you got 2 guys within your division that are as good as there are in the game right now, and arguably 2 guys that are on their way to Hall of Fame careers.
Hey, but by the time this airs, folks will have seen the Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles kick off the season. I'm giving you one.
Yeah.
Who plays it? Who plays in the Super Bowl, Tom Withers?
Buffalo and Philly.
Wow. And then my last question, you got Ohio State going all the way. What do you have when it comes to Ohio State? I mean, obviously, Arch Manning has patterned his throwing motion after Patrick Mahomes, but without much less success.
That
little sidearm whip action, which was all over the place this past week. But do you like Ohio State? I mean, do you like Ohio State to possibly repeat?
I do. It's such a tough thing to do, Tim, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be, and listen, expectations are always through the roof down there. And I tell you what I've been enjoying as a Buckeye honk and a longtime fan is this 5-game run that they're on. I mean, how many teams in the history of college football have knocked off the number 1 team twice in the same calendar year?
Right.
And I think people have really, the fact that they got up 34-0 in the second quarter on number 1 Oregon in the Rose Bowl after they had lost to them earlier in the year last year, I think we all just kind of we skated right past that because it had to be, go on to the next thing. I think it's going to be tough to repeat, Tim. I'll be honest with you. The team that scares me the most is Penn State, only because, much like the Bills we talked about with Josh Allen, at some point it's going to be James Franklin's year, or it's not. Now, I know they brought back a bunch of guys. They got some transfers. They still don't have anybody that can cover Jeremiah Smith. So
correct.
I think from a Buckeye standpoint, that bodes well. I tell you what, I was impressed with Sayin last week, and I thought the game plan, fit a first-time starter perfectly. I thought they kind of, kept him reined in to a degree. I do think, though, if he had hit Smith with that 4th down pass in the first quarter, we might have seen an entirely different game.
Yes.
But I think that was a sign to Ryan Day, okay, maybe we better keep this reined in if we want to win this game. And they played some trestle ball, and they got it done. Yeah,
sometimes the big play just isn't there for one reason or the other, And,
Amen.
And by the way, you got to like his release, man. Sayin throws from the ear, and boy, is he pinpoint. And, man, I can see in a couple of years, maybe even, heck, next year. I mean, after next year. Yeah.
This is his second year. Hey, Tom, I appreciate everything you do for me, my man. I'm welcome to be on your show anytime you want. And by the way, where can people? You're kind of like not slumming. You're kind of like hanging out there, still getting some work done, right? I mean, who are you writing for?
I'm doing a little freelance stuff for the AP. Doing a little freelance stuff as well for the Elyria Chronicle here, only because a good friend of mine, Scott Petrak, who I think Tim, know. Has been elevated to the sports editor there, and he's spinning about 9 plates at once now. So he asked me if I'd come out and help him out, and I'm glad to. I really didn't want to retire from the AP. It was just the time was right for a lot of reasons. Doing a little bit of radio work, which has been kind of fun. So I've had you on as a guest a couple times, which has been
doing a good job there, brother.
And enjoy it. And listen, Cleveland sports and sports in general have always been a passion of mine, and I'm going to continue to do it until they kick me out of the building. Or as you've seen at Rocket Arena, pack up my stuff around me and then ship me out, right?
There you go, man. I'm going to try to run that picture, if I can find it, of you sitting there with 4 guys breaking down the floor at Quicken Loans Arena, ladies and gentlemen, while Tom Withers works on Deadline.
It was classic. It was classic.
That's one of my favorites of all time, man. Hey, Tom, thank you for joining the Tim May Show, my man.
Love you, Tim. Thanks, buddy.
One of my favorites of all time, Tom Withers. I think everybody knows that now. And like I said, he chronicled the rise of LeBron James as well as anybody. And I don't know, he's just a great, I was going to say competent. Competent means he is thorough. He is just thorough in everything that he does. And, everybody who's in newspaper stuff knows who Tom Withers is. A lot of times those Associated Press people their bylines didn't accompany the stories that were in the paper, but they wrote them, and he just nonstop work. And, he got his, so to speak, I think a really nice buyout situation from the AP. Why wouldn't you take that? I know my friend, Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch, just did the same thing. Now he's going on to a thing called Substack, but he's moved on from the Columbus Dispatch, and we covered Ohio State together for quite a few years, and he does a hell of a job, and he's going to do a hell of a job at Substack. But it's a weird time we're living in from a media standpoint, right, Clay?
All prolific writers.
Yeah,
all 3 of you, and I would probably throw in Doug Lesmerises in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got his On the Kings of the North podcast, which is transitioned now to another. Transition to another platform. I think they might be on the Substack, in the Substack realm. I still don't know what Substack is, but I'll figure it out right down the road. I'm just glad we're on fanstreamsports.com.
You got it. Couple of tidbits.
Which is coming in high and hard, into the Ohio area as we speak.
Yeah, Myles Garrett is good to go, ready to go was the quote. He missed Thursday's practice with a hip issue. Bengals lead this series 55-48, in case you wanted to know.
Interesting.
And as you said, Quinshawn is not ready, but the Bengals signed Joe Burrow's center, Ted Karras, this morning. 1 year, $5 million. It's his 100th start in the National Football League. He is an Illinois grad.
Oh, yeah.
So, they've restructured their defensive coaching staff because they were so bad, headed by Al Golden, a guy who was at Notre Dame under Marcus Freeman. And if they could do anything, that would give the Bengals a real shot to make a run.
Just so on 3rd and 11, he doesn't go man-to-man in a big-time game, because
you plucked that out. That was nice.
That was probably his last major defensive call, right? But,
probably.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah. Lazy. Will Howard, he's fading the throw. He's got Jeremiah Smith. Yeah, I'm not going to take Paul Keel's spot anytime soon, but what a play, an audacious play to put a bow on the thing. That game reminded me.
This is the wrap.
That game reminded me so much of Ohio State versus Oregon for the national championship in 2014, because after they beat Alabama,
it's easy.
It's easy street. No, you're playing against the Heisman Trophy winner the next time, Marcus Mariota and all those guys, and it was a pretty good game for a while. And Cardale had a couple of gaffes in that game, which kind of kept it close a little bit. But then Ohio State pulled away with Zeke Elliott, who should have won the Heisman Trophy. If the Heisman Trophy was given out after bowl season. But of course, the reason it's not, they say, is because not everybody gets to play in the bowls or play for the national championship. So they judge it on the regular season. I think it's just so they can conveniently keep the ceremony where it is there. The second big weekend in December, tradition.
Right.
But I keep saying tradition, man, is getting whacked away like a forest. Clear cutting when it comes to college football anymore. But I digress. By the way, who's ringing the victory bell, or as I call it, the call to arms bell for Ohio State tomorrow in the pregame ceremonies?
That's the guy that you know oh so well. John Cooper gets the nod. He's going to be starting at on the mound for the pregame victory. Vigor Bell, is that what they now
Well, it's in the Vigor Tower, VIGOR, the tower that says Vigor on it, but it's come to be known as the Victory Bell.
Coop.
And I hope he got some pointers from Archie, because I think Archie Griffin figured it out last week. That's a big bell. Yeah. And when the rope goes back up on the backswing,
look out.
You want to let go. You want to let, like a ski rope, when you water ski. I don't know if you ever water skied, but the first thing you learn is let go of the rope after you fall. Otherwise,
you're face planting.
You're face planting. You may be getting water going places you've never had water go before. I know that happened when I was slalom skiing one time, and long time ago.
If we ever had my wife on here, you would hear a water skiing story. She didn't want to do it. She was in a bikini. And one of my photogs, Don Cash, was his boat on the Ross Barnett Reservoir in Jackson, and she, I think, still harbors ill will toward me. She got up, but it was a few tries.
Yes.
But she was like, I am going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. By the way,
that look.
That's a beautiful reservoir, because I've done the Natchez Trace one time, but it goes right up the west bank of Ross Barnett Reservoir, and it's really pretty cool. I think the town of Clinton's to the west, isn't it, to the northwest? But anyway, that's a beautiful little area right there in the middle of Mississippi.
I must tell you, this man can't be contained. He sees an hour and he's like, no, I'm running through the stop sign.
Yeah.
I got more.
Yeah, exactly.
And you do.
But the hour has come. The hour has come. And by the way, what do you think? Do you think Ohio State, one quick one, Ohio State, the main thing Ohio State gets out of this game is gets out of it injury-free, right? That's the main thing you want to get out of it.
Sure.
And you want to play 75 guys at minimum.
Exactly.
Whoever's ready to play, whoever's taking the black stripe off their helmet, you want to get it to the point where everybody gets to play. With that said, you take nothing for granted in games like this, my man.
No, but it's a great opportunity early in the season to get some reps for kids who won't probably be playing against Penn State.
Right.
But they might have to in a pinch. And so that's why it's so valuable.
And the other thing is, but Julian Sayin's only started and played one game for Ohio State. He played a little bit last year. Lincoln Keynotes, we know about him.
Let me ask
you got to get in the game. But I definitely want to. I don't know. I definitely would like to see Tavian St. Clair take some snaps at the end, just to keep the Bell Fountain horde entertained, right?
Yeah,
because
give them a series.
We all know, but I definitely want to see, like you pointed out earlier, the deep running back room, which I pointed out isn't as deep as you think it is. But would like to see Bo and Turbo both get a shot, maybe carrying the ball, especially Bo Jackson. I mean, he showed a lot of things in the spring, a lot of things in preseason camp, just to prove to people we're not kidding about this dude.
No, when it's 49-6, that might keep some people.
Yeah.
Hey, is Bo coming?
I'll tell you what, their second string offensive line, by the way, whether they get into third teamers remains to be seen. Second string offensive line can be pretty good too, man.
You think they're 10 deep?
I think they can play 10 deep, especially in a game like this where you're still probably outmanning the people across from you. I don't think there's any question about that, but you do want to see a lot of guys get to play if they can. And like I say, take some guys out of jeopardy. But the way you avoid jeopardy is play hard as you can go.
Right.
When you're in the game, and when you get out, then take your breather. That's when you relax. You don't relax because you don't want to get rolled up on in a game like this, or all kinds of things.
Right.
We could go. We have a litany of
hard.
list of guys who got hurt in quote pushover games, just because that was happenstance.
All right, sir.
Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's the Tim May Show for August the 5th. That's when we're recording this. You can listen to it anytime. You can find it on YouTube through the FanStream Sports app, fanstreamsports.com. You can find us there. Well, obviously, you found us there if you're listening to us, right? That's kind of moot.
Well, spread the word.
Yeah.
Let's export this to many that we can.
We may have a couple of sponsors coming on board here sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
and
I hope they made contact.
Looking forward to that. But I'm really enjoying it being the quote pilot with my co-pilot, my first officer over here. And we all know he takes the plane a lot of times and does loops in it. But Clay,
yes.
For Clay Hall, I'm Tim May. We'll see.